The coffee's gone cold on the kitchen table, just like the plans we thought were stable. Morning light slips through the blinds, but it can't warm up what's left behind. The old clock ticks, the house stays still, the silence louder than it should feel. Your coat is gone from by the door, and I know you won't be back no more. Last night we said the things we hid, now all that's left is what we did. Cold coffee at dawn, and another day moving on. A half-empty cup and a broken heart, trying to figure out where to start. The sun comes up, the world goes on, but it feels so wrong since you've been gone. I'm sitting here holding yesterday with cold coffee at dawn. Radio plays an old country song, the kind we'd sing to all night long. I still reach for the chair beside me, forgetting you're no longer here. Outside, the neighbors start their day, a pickup truck pulls away. Life keeps rolling down the road while I'm stuck carrying this load. Funny how a house can change when one goodbye rearranges everything. Cold coffee at dawn, and another day moving on. A half-empty cup and a broken heart, trying to figure out where to start. The sun comes up, the world goes on, but it feels so wrong since you've been gone. I'm sitting here holding yesterday with cold coffee at dawn. I could blame the miles, blame the years, blame all the words we never shared, but the truth is simple, hard and plain. Love doesn't die all at once, it fades like steam from a coffee cup, little by little until it's gone. Cold coffee at dawn, but somehow I keep hanging on. The pain ain't gone, but I can see tomorrow waiting patiently. The sun climbs high above the fields, and time slowly starts to heal. I take one last sip and face the day, leaving yesterday where it belongs. Just me and cold coffee at dawn. Coffee's gone cold, but morning still comes. There's a broken fence line running through the field, leaning like a secret neither side could heal. Daddy built it strong back in '49. Said good fences make good neighbors, son, and save a lot of time. Back then the grass grew tall and green, kids chased fireflies where the creek runs clean. Two families shared the work and rain, till one hard year changed everything. Funny how a little piece of land can turn good friends into angry men. Like a broken fence line, one board at a time. What once stood straight and strong slowly comes undone. Words get sharp, pride gets high, nobody wants to apologize, and before you know it, years go by. like a broken fence line. It started over where the boundary lay, a few feet of dirt and a bale of hay. One said that's mine, the other said no, and neither one would let it go. The county map got passed around, voices rose all over town. Sunday church felt cold and strange, 'cause everybody knew the names. Their wives quit talking at the store, the kids didn't play together anymore. A friendship built through 20 years got buried underneath the anger and fear. Sometimes the thing you're fighting for ain't worth losing people anymore. Like a broken fence line, one board at a time. What once stood straight and strong slowly comes undone. Words get sharp, pride gets high, nobody wants to apologize, and before you know it, years go by. Like a broken fence line. Then one winter morning passed on down. The other stood there dressed in black, staring at the years he couldn't get back. After the service beneath gray skies, he walked that field one final time, hammer in hand, tears in his eyes, fixing boards where they used to divide. I guess death has a way of making clear what's important and what disappears. That old broken fence line now stands straight in the sunlight, but some things can't be repaired no matter how hard you try. So don't let pride steal precious years or leave you drowning in regrets and tears, 'cause life is short and time won't wait for a broken fence line. The wind still blows across that land through weathered posts and calloused hands, and every board tells the same old truth: people matter more than property do. The bus rolled out of town at 17 with a duffel bag and a pocket full of dreams. I told Mama I'll be back real soon. She smiled and waved beneath the harvest moon. She packed a sandwich for the road, slipped $20 in my coat, said no matter where life takes you, son, remember where you're coming from. I was young and sure I knew it all, too blind to see how hard a mother falls. Mama's porch light shining in the dark, like a lighthouse for a wandering heart. No matter how far these highways run, it always points me back home. Through every mistake in every mile, through every tear I tried to hide, when the whole world felt cold and wrong, Mama's porch light stayed on. I chased jobs from state to state, worked long shifts and stayed out late, sent a postcard now and then, promising I'd visit soon again. But years have a way of slipping past, one season turns into another fast. birthdays missed and holidays gone, while Mama kept waiting all along. Neighbor said she'd sit outside most summer evenings after 5, watching every truck that passed, hoping one of them would be mine. The people who love you the most are often the ones you call the least. Mama's porch light shining in the dark, like a lighthouse for a wandering heart. No matter how far these highways run, it always points me back home. Through every mistake in every mile, through every tear I tried to hide, when the whole world felt cold and wrong, Mama's porch light stayed on. One November I got the call, Mama wasn't doing well at all. So I drove all night through pouring rain, praying I wasn't too late again. The old house stood just like before, white swing hanging by the door, and there above the front steps bright was that familiar porch light. She looked at me and softly smiled the same way she did when I was a child, and held my hand and quietly said, I knew you'd find your way back. Mama's porch light shining in the dark, still burning deep inside my heart. Though she's gone and years move on, its glow still leads me home. Through every road and every mile, I still see that gentle light. And when life leaves me lost and worn, Mama's porch light stays on. Some lights are wired to a house, and some are wired to your soul. We grew up on the edge of town, where the gravel roads ran miles around. Two skinny kids with hand-me-down clothes and dreams bigger than those county roads. We fished the creek behind the mill, skipped school sometimes to climb the hill. Shared one bike when the other broke, and laughed at problems like they were jokes. When trouble came, we'd take the blame, neither one would leave the other hand. Back then we thought we'd never age, just two best friends against the world. Life looked simple in those days, before the bills and the heartaches came. Dusty boots and county roads, carrying heavy loads through hard times, through pouring rain, through every loss and every pain. The world can knock a good man down, leave him flat against the ground, but a true friend helps you stand when you don't think you can. By 25 the world got real, factory shifts and overdue bills. One lost work when the mill shut down, the other barely got by in town. Some nights there wasn't much to eat, just coffee and a little faith to keep. One opened the door and said, "Come in, we'll figure this out like we always did." Then came a year nobody planned, a hospital room and a wedding band. A young wife gone before her time, leaving one broken inside. For months he hardly left the house. The curtains closed, lights all out. But every morning without fail, the pickup truck stopped by the mailbox. 'Cause real friendship isn't words you say, it's showing up every single day. Dusty boots and county roads, carrying heavy loads through hard times, through pouring rain, through every loss and every pain. The world can knock a good man down, leave him flat against the ground. But a true friend helps you stand when you don't think you can. Years rolled on like seasons do. Kids grew up and hair turned gray too. The dreams got smaller, the lessons grew, and somehow the friendship made it through. One autumn evening by the lake, watching the sunset slowly fade, one laughed and said, "We sure got old." The other smiled, "Yeah, but we're still here." 'Cause money comes and money goes, jobs disappear and rivers overflow. But some things weather every storm like hearts that have been tested for years. Dusty boots and county roads, still carrying their loads through hard times, through pouring rain, through every joy and every pain. The world can knock a good man down, leave him flat against the ground. But a true friend takes your hand and reminds you who you are. Dusty boots, county roads, and a friendship strong enough to survive them both. "17 short on cash, working days and living fast. One fixed tires at the Texaco, one loaded freight where the cold winds blow. Small town dreams in callous hands, trying hard to become grown men. Every Friday after work, they'd sit by the tracks and watch the sunset burn, talking about places they'd never seen, California lights in Tennessee, swearing someday they'd leave this town before life could wear their spirits down. Back then the future felt close enough to touch, even when they didn't have much. On the last train to Amarillo, we carried hope and a radio, a couple dollars and a stubborn soul, trying to outrun roads we'd always known. The world was hard and the nights were long, but together we kept moving on. When life hit hard, we stood our ground, like the last train to Amarillo, rolling out of town. Then came the drought and the factory cuts, paychecks shrank and times got rough. Families worried, bills stacked high, some folks packed up and said goodbye. One friend's father lost the farm, the bank came and took it all. The other worked 2 jobs a day just to keep the lights from fading away. There were nights they slept in trucks, sharing coffee and bad luck, but neither one would walk away if the other needed help that day. 'Cause real friendship ain't about easy roads, it's about who stays when everything falls. On the last train to Amarillo, we carried hope and a radio, a couple dollars and a stubborn soul, trying to outrun roads we'd always loaned. The world was hard and the nights were long, but together we kept moving on. When life hit hard, we stood our ground, like the last train to Amarillo, rolling out of town. One winter night beneath the rain, a freight train screamed across the plain. They sat beside the station light, talking through another difficult night. One said, maybe we won't get rich. The other laughed, I can live with it, long as we can look back someday to know we never quit along the way. The whistle blew across the dark like a promise written in their hearts. On the last train to Amarillo, we learned life don't always go the way you dream when you're young and bold, but that don't mean you let go. The years rolled by and times changed too, but the friendship stayed strong and true. And every time that whistle sounds, it takes us back to that old town. The last train to Amarillo, still rolling through our memories, still carrying two young men who refuse to let life break them. Friday night in a small town bar, dusty boots and no guitars, neon buzzing, jukebox loud, young hearts getting lost in the crowd. A glance across the smoke-filled room hit harder than a summer storm. One reckless smile, one daring stare, and suddenly nothing else was there. They danced too close, laughed too fast, like they were trying to make a moment last. Outside a pickup waited near, with nowhere to go but away from here. Young blood runs hot when the night feels free, and consequences feel like distant things. Whiskey under a Texas moon, burning bright and fading too soon, kissing like the world might end tonight, holding on with all their might. Fast love, wild hearts, no breaks, no rules, making promises they couldn't prove, lost in the heat of a reckless June, with whiskey under a Texas moon. Every weekend became the same, county roads and pouring rain, windows down, radio high, chasing midnight across the sky. Friends warned them both to slow it down, but youth doesn't listen to wisdom much. They live for sparks and adrenaline, not for where the road might end. shouting finally reached its end. No broken bottles, no flying fists, just two young souls admitting this. We love each other, that's the truth, but love alone ain't enough for two. When pride gets bigger than the heart, everything starts falling apart. The silence hurt more than the fight as headlights disappeared into the night. Whiskey under a Texas moon still echoes through that summer tune. The kind of love that burns so bright, it leaves a mark for the rest of your life. Some memories heal, some remain like those scars hidden by the rain. And every time the stars shine through, I think of that Texas moon. Whiskey under a Texas moon. Young enough to believe forever, old enough to learn better. The summer of '63 was dry as dust when the bus rolled west and left a cloud behind us. A cardboard suitcase by my side and a promise I'd ride home every night. Bakersfield looked nothing like I dreamed. Oil pumps bowing in the heat like tired machines. I found a room above a hardware store and a job sweeping floors from dawn till 4. The city moved too fast for a country boy. Nobody knew my name or where I came from. So every Sunday when the whistle blew, I'd sit by the window and write to you. Ink and paper were all I had to bridge the miles that made me sad. Letters from Bakersfield, folded hopes and honest feelings sealed. Every line said I'm doing fine, even when that wasn't true sometimes. From a lonely room beneath the California sky, I'd send my heart across the county lines, praying every word would find its way inside those letters from Bakersfield. Autumn came and the work got rough. Longer hours, never quite enough. My hands grew hard, my back grew sore, but quitting wasn't what I came here for. You wrote about the harvest moon, the church picnic coming up in June, how Mama still set an extra plate and asked if I'd be home by Christmas Day. I read those pages over and over again till the corners curled and the ink wore thin. Some nights they felt like a front porch light shining through the darkness of the night. Funny how a handwritten page can make a distant world feel close again. Letters from Bakersfield, folded hopes and honest feelings beside those letters from Bakersfield. Then one December a letter came, the handwriting trembling around my name. It said the old house needed repairs, and Mama wasn't feeling well these days. I stared a long while at that page, thinking of every choice I'd made. 'Cause chasing dreams can cost you more than the things you're chasing them for. The next morning before sunrise, I bought a ticket and left that life behind. Some roads teach you where to go, others teach you where you belong. Those letters from Bakersfield still rest in a shoebox on the shelf, a reminder of a younger man trying hard to understand himself. The dreams were real, the miles were long, the lessons came where I was wrong. And every word still takes me back today to those letters from Bakersfield. The ink has faded through the years, but the love inside those pages never did. The sun comes up across the fields, painting gold on the old windmill. Church bells ring through the morning air, and the sound drifts softly everywhere. Mama's humming by the stove, frying bacon while the coffee flows. Daddy's polishing his Sunday shoes, reading yesterday's local news. The screen door creaks, the dog runs out, kids chase each other around the house. For a little while, the world feels right under that clear Arkansas sky. Life ain't easy around these parts, but mornings like this can heal a heart. Sunday morning in Arkansas, slow as a river, strong as the Lord. Front porch rocking, sweet tea cold, stories passed down and never grow. No fancy roads, no city lights, just family gathered side by side. And for a while all troubles pause on a Sunday morning in Arkansas. The little white church sits on the hill, same old building standing still, wooden pews and stained glass light, welcoming souls every Sunday morning. Neighbors shake hands at the front door, some have known each other 40 years or more. Farmers teach preachers, mechanics too, all carrying burdens nobody else knew. The preacher speaks about faith and grace, about finding strength in difficult days. Heads bow low, voices rise, like hope reaching toward the sky. Out here people don't have much, but they know the value of trust. Sunday morning in Arkansas, slow as a river, strong as the Lord. Front porch rocking, sweet tea cold, stories passed down and never grow. No fancy roads, no city lights, just family gathered side by side. And for a while all troubles pause on a Sunday morning in Arkansas. After church there's a meal downtown, fried chicken passed around, children laughing, old men talking about weather, crops, and fishing. One old veteran quietly smiles, watching his grandchildren run wild, thinking how fast the years have flown and how blessed he is to call this home. Because life can change without warning signs, taking things money cannot buy. That's why moments like these matter most, more than people often know. Simple blessings, open hearts, the kind of peace you can't explain, that somehow feel deep in your veins. The years roll on, the seasons change, but some traditions still remain. And I'll always hear those church bells call on a Sunday morning in Arkansas. The coffee's warm, the bells still ring, and the world feels a little kinder today. Every morning before sunrise, I pick up a roll beneath the sky, down the same dirt road he'd known for nearly 30 years and more. Steel lunchbox on the passenger seat, coffee in a worn tin cup to drink. The grain mill stood beside the tracks, waiting for another day of hard work. The whistle blew at 6 o'clock, and the old machines began to talk. Dust filled the air like morning fog, settling on shirts and tired thoughts. Nobody called him rich or famous, nobody wrote songs about his name, but every family in that town knew the man who kept the mill running. Some lives are measured not by glory, but by showing up when they're needed most. The man at the grain mill worked through every season still. Through summer heat Raised 3 children on modest ground. Fixed the roof when storms came through. Taught his boys the value of truth. Some nights money got stretched thin. Bills arrived faster than they came in. But somehow the lights stayed on, and supper always made it to the table. Saturday mornings he'd repair old things, engines, fences, broken springs. Neighbors knew if something failed, he'd be there before they even asked. The years rolled by like freight trains pass, faster than anyone expects them to. The children grew and moved away, chasing dreams beyond the county line. Time leaves its mark on every hand, especially the ones that build and carry. The man at the grain mill worked through every season still, through summer heat and winter snow, doing what had to be. One autumn afternoon, the whistle blew for what would be his final shift. The mill was closing after all these years, another sign of a changing world. He stood alone beside the loading dock, watching dust drip through the sunlight, thinking about the decades gone and everything that place had seen. Then his youngest daughter said, "Dad, we learn more from watching you than any book could ever teach." And for the first time in a long while, the old man wiped away a tear. The man at the grain mill may never have climbed a distant hill, or had his picture in a frame for the whole world to know his name, but he built a home, he kept his word, he lived the lessons that he taught, and that's a legacy worth more than gold for the man at the grain mill. The mill stands silent now, but the character it helped build still echoes through the generations.
There's an old guitar leaning by the bed, covered in dust and things unsaid. The strings are worn, the finish is gone, but it still remembers every song. I bought it back when I was 19, playing county bars for gasoline, chasing dreams beneath neon lights, thinking love would survive every night. Then you walked in through the smoke-filled room, and suddenly every sad song made sense. For a while I felt easy and true, like every road led straight to you. Funny how the best memories begin before you know how they'll end. 3 chords and a broken heart, that's all I've got now that we're apart. A simple song and a lonely tune, trying to make sense of losing you. The melody's easy, the pain runs deep. Some wounds don't fade, they just learn to sleep. And every night I play my part with 3 chords and a broken heart. We had a little house outside town, a front porch swing in a patch of ground. Not much money, but enough to get by, back when forever seemed believable. But life got busy and time moved fast. The little things slipped through the cracks. The long work days turned into silent nights, and neither of us knew how to make it right. Then came the words nobody wants to hear, the kind that leave a room standing still. No shouting match, no slam front door, just a goodbye that hurt even more. Sometimes love doesn't end in flames, sometimes it simply fades away. 3 chords and a broken heart, that's all I've got now that we're apart. A simple song and a lonely tune, trying to make sense of losing you. The melody's easy, the pain runs deep. Some wounds don't fade, they just learn to sleep. And every night I play my part with 3 chords and a broken heart. Last Friday at a roadside bar, I played beneath a dim lit star. The crowd sang along to every line, never knowing the story behind. Then halfway through an old refrain, I saw your face inside my mind. Not angry, not sad, not far away, just another chapter life gave me. And for the first time since you left, I smiled instead of holding my breath. 3 chords and a broken heart, play beneath the stars with 3 chords and a wiser heart. Just 3 chords, 1 old guitar, and a story worth singing. The Tennessee River rode slow that day, like it knew there were words we couldn't say. Summer sun hung low in the sky, while we stood there watching the water pass by. The old Dock Creek beneath our feet, just like it did when we were 17. Back when life was simple and wild, and forever sounded worth believing. We carved our names into that oak, we made promises neither of us broke. At least not then, when time stood still, before the world tested our will. Some roads pull people far apart, no matter how hard they hold on. This Tennessee River goodbye came with tears we couldn't hide, like the current pulling us away. No matter how much we wish to stay, one headed west, one stayed behind, both carrying the same hope inside, that someday fate might realign this Tennessee River goodbye. You left for work in another state, chasing opportunities and better pay. I stayed here helping my father run the family farm we'd built upon. At first the letters came every week, telling stories of unfamiliar streets. I'd write back about the harvest rain and the river looking just the same. But months became years somehow, life got busy and we lost our route. New routines and changing plans slowly slipped between our hands. Then one day a letter arrived, saying you'd found a different life, a new town, a new beginning, and a wedding plan for spring. That's the thing about time and distance, they rarely ask for permission. This Tennessee River goodbye came with tears we couldn't hide, like the current pulling us away. No matter how much we wish to stay, one headed west, one stayed behind, both carrying the same hope inside, that someday fate might realign this Tennessee River goodbye. Years later I drove back to that shore, the same old dock, the same old shore. The oak tree still stood strong listening to the river slide by, thinking how life changes course, like water finding its own way forward. Some people stay in your heart forever, even when they don't stay in your life. That Tennessee River goodbye no longer brings tears to my eyes, just gratitude for the time we shared, and the memories still waiting there. The river flows, the seasons turn, and every heart has things to learn about letting go and moving on, without forgetting where you've come from. The Tennessee River still rolls tonight, carrying old memories toward the horizon, and somewhere beyond the bend, life keeps moving on. There's an old Ford by the barn, rust on the doors, paint nearly gone. Been sitting there for 20 years through summer heat and winter storms. Daddy bought it back in 50, the proudest thing he'd ever paid for. Worked extra shifts at the grain mill just to bring that pickup home. Every Saturday we'd wash it clean, shining chrome like a movie scene, then drive the back roads out of town with the windows down and the radio loud. Back then I thought it'd last forever, just like the man behind the wheel. That old Ford by the barn holds more than steel and rusted parts. It's every lesson, every mile, every laugh and every hard-earned smile. Time moves on, but some things stay long after people fade away, and every dent tells who we are in that old Ford by the barn. When I turned 16 that summer, Daddy handed me the keys one night. Said, son, a vehicle ain't freedom, it's responsibility disguised. I stalled it twice on County Road, nearly drove us in a ditch. He just laughed and shook his head, you're learning that's all that matters. Years rolled by and life got busy, jobs, bills, children of my own. The truck stayed parked beside the barn while the world kept moving on. Then one autumn afternoon, Mama called with trembling words, saying Daddy had passed peacefully in his chair after supper. Some news divides your life into everything before and after. That old Ford by the barn holds more than steel and rusted parts. It's every lesson, every mile, every laugh and every hard-earned smile. Time moves on, but some things stay long after people fade away, and every dent tells who we are in that old Ford by the barn. A few months later I found the keys inside his workshop drawer, so I spent all winter fixing things the way he taught me years before. New plugs, fresh oil, rebuilt brakes, a little patience every day. till one morning the engine turned and rumbled back to life again. I swear for just a moment there I heard Daddy laugh somewhere. Now that old Ford by the barn still carries generations in its heart. My children climb inside the cab asking where all those stories happened. And I tell them about simpler days, about hard work, faith, and family names. Because some memories travel far inside an old Ford by the barn. The paint may fade, the chrome may rust, but the things that matter most never really leave us. The wind came hard across the plains, carrying dust and yesterday's pain. An old hat hung by the kitchen door, waiting for a man who smiled no more. He woke before the morning light, fed the horses and checked the wire, worked the ranch from dawn till dark, keeping worries buried in his heart. The neighbor saw a stubborn man, strong hands and a weathered tan, the kind who'd help when times got rough, and always swore that he was tough enough. Out here people learn real young how to hide what hurts the most. Cowboy tears don't show, they fall where nobody knows, behind quiet eyes and a steady face out where the lonely coyotes roam. He carries every loss alone like another stone upon his soul. The world sees strength, but heaven knows cowboy tears don't show. Years ago beneath a harvest moon, a young love promised forever too soon, but life had different plans in mind and left that promise far behind. Then came the drought that took the herd, and bank notices nobody deserved. He fought each season tooth and nail, just trying to keep the ranch from sale. One winter Mama passed away, the strongest woman he'd ever known. After the funeral everybody left, and silence moved into the home. Some battles leave no visible scars, but they can break a man apart. Tears don't show, they fall where nobody knows, behind quiet eyes and a steady face out where the lonely coyotes roam. He carries every loss alone like another stone upon his soul. The world sees strength, but heaven knows cowboy tears don't show. One evening sitting by the fire, his grandson climbed into his lap and asked Grandpa, "Are cowboys scared?" The old man paused and looked back, then softly said, "Every single day being brave ain't feeling strong, it's waking up and moving forward. Even when your heart feels gone." For the first time in many years, tear escaped and touched the dust, and nobody thought less of him. They simply understood. Cowboy tears don't show, the burden gets too heavy to hold, and sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is let somebody know that every heart can break in two, no matter how tough the boots walk through. And the truth behind the cowboy code is nobody should ride alone. Stars still shine above the rain, the cattle still move with the dawn, and somewhere beneath that old cowboy hat, a human heart keeps carrying on. Grew up where the river bends in a little house at the edge of town. Cedar Creek was all she'd known. Cornfield summers and dirt road dreams. Every Friday after school she'd meet him by the old wooden bridge, talking about the life they'd built somewhere beyond the county line. He promised her a white front porch, a pickup truck, and a wedding ring. Said, give me time, I'll make it right. And she believed every word. When you're young, forever sounds simple, like something nobody can take away. The girl from Cedar Creek still waits inside those memories, holding on to promises that drifted off like autumn leaves. She gave her heart with open hands, never thinking love could change. Now every road through Cedar Creek reminds her of his name. The years moved on, the seasons turned. He left town chasing bigger dreams. At first the letters came each week, full of hope and plans to return, and the letters slowed to one a month, then one every now and then, till one day a photograph arrived with another woman by his side. The whole town heard before she did. Small towns rarely keep a secret long. She read that letter on the porch while the evening shadows stretched across the lawn. Mama found her sitting there, holding pieces of a future gone. Some heartbreak doesn't come with anger, only silence and disbelief. The girl from Cedar Creek still walks beside the willow trees, wondering where the years went wrong and why goodbye came so easily. She gave her heart with open hands, never asking for much in return. Now every sunset through Cedar Creek feels a little hard as was. For a while she stopped going downtown, avoided places they once knew. The diner One spring morning she looked outside and noticed flowers blooming again. The river kept moving toward the sea and life kept moving too. That's when she finally understood some people leave so you can find yourself. The girl from Cedar Creek ain't the same as she used to be. The heartbreak left its mark behind, but it didn't steal her greed. She learned that love is worth the risk, even when it ends in tears. And now she smiles when she drives past the places she once feared, because every road through Cedar Creek led her back to who she is. And ever still bends through town, the willow trees still sway in the wind, and the girl from Cedar Creek finally found her own way home.
She found it while cleaning out a drawer, an old leather wallet he left years before. The edges were cracked, the stitching worn thin, like a story that never quite found its end. Inside were receipts and a couple of bills, a gas station card from over the hill. Then tucked in a pocket behind a fold was a photograph, weathered, faded, and old. It showed two young hearts by the county fair, summer wind tangled in her hair, his arm around her, both smiling wide, back when forever stood on their side. Funny how one little picture can bring 1,000 memories rushing in. That faded photograph in my wallet still holds a life we never got to live. The colors are gone, but the memories remain, like old country songs in September rain. I can almost hear the promises made beneath those carnival lights that day. Now all that's left of what we were is a faded photograph in my wallet. He left town chasing bigger dreams, California lights and magazine scenes. He said he'd come back when the time was right, but distance grew stronger than love that night. At first there were letters every week, stories about places she'd never seen. Then months passed by without a word, and silence slowly did its work. The neighbors talked as neighbors do, saying he'd found somebody new. She tried to act like she was fine while heartbreak settled deep inside. Every Sunday after church, she'd drive the roads where they once were,
broken face to face. They're written in the spaces left behind. That faded photograph in my wallet still holds a life we never got to live. The colors are gone, but the memories remain, like old country songs in September rain. I can almost hear the promises made beneath those carnival lights that day. Now all that's left of what we were is a faded photograph in my wallet. Years rolled by like freight trains passing fast enough to leave you asking, where did all the young years go? Then one afternoon at the Five and Dime, she caught her reflection in the window glass and realized she'd spent too long looking backward instead of ahead. The Dixon hadn't trapped her heart, she had trapped it herself. So she smiled, folded it carefully, and whispered, thank you for the memory. That faded photograph in my wallet no longer makes me fall apart. It's a reminder of who I was before life taught me how to heal. The colors are gone, but that's okay. Some things aren't meant to stay the same, and every chapter has its place, even the ones that end too soon. Now it's just a faded photograph in my wallet and a lesson carried in my heart. The paper may fade, the faces may grow older, but every love leaves a picture behind. Back when the cotton bloomed across the fields, white as clouds beneath the summer heat, the mornings came with rooster calls and the smell of biscuits from Mama's stove. The screen door slammed 100 times a day. Kids ran barefoot through the clay. Daddy worked from sunrise till dark, leaving sweat and pride in every road. The town was small, but nobody cared. Everybody knew somebody there. If a barn went down or crops got thin, neighbors showed up and pitched right in. We didn't know those days would go, 'cause young hearts think they'll last forever. Back when the cotton blew, life moved to a simpler tune. Before the highways got so wide and people stopped sitting outside. We didn't have much money then, but somehow we were rich in friends. Sometimes I wish I could go home back when the cotton bloomed. Saturday nights meant Main Street lights pickup trucks lined up outside. The diner stayed open a little late while teenagers talked about getting away. The church bell rang every Sunday morn, the same way it had since before we were born. Grandpa sat in the third row seat, shaking every hand he'd meet. Then time rolled in like an autumn wind. Factories closed and families moved. The old feed store locked its doors, and faces familiar weren't around anymore. The cotton fields still stretched for miles, but the town didn't feel the same somehow. Nothing stays exactly as it was, no matter how much you want it to. Back when the cotton bloomed and life moved to a simpler tune, before the highways got so wide and people stopped sitting outside. We didn't have much money then, but somehow we were rich in friends. Sometimes I wish I could go home, back when the cotton bloomed. Last fall I drove those county roads, past the creek and the old schoolhouse. The water tower still stood tall, keeping watch above it all. I stopped beside Data's field, where the wind moved softly through the road. For a moment I could almost hear Mama laughing somewhere near, and I realized those days aren't gone. As long as someone remembers them. Back when the cotton bloomed and life moved to a slower tune, the lessons learned out in those fields still guide me through the years. The world may change and seasons turn, but some memories never leave. Part of me will always belong back where the cotton bloomed. The fields still turn white every summer. The wind still carries stories through the roads, and in my heart it's always harvest season, back when the cotton bloomed. The dashboard clock says 2:30. Headlights cut through the midnight blue. I've been driving since the break of day with 1,000 miles behind my name. Coffee cups and radio static, a duffel bag riding in the back seat. Every town looks the same at night when you're chasing a porch light. The highway stretches straight ahead, but my mind keeps drifting instead to a gravel drive and a front yard swing and the people waiting there for me. I've spent too many years on the move, learning what matters when you have something to lose. One more mile to home, one more mile and I'm not alone. One more turn down that county road, back to the place that built my soul. Through every storm and every town, when the There was always a reason to hold on, just one more mile to home. I miss birthdays, missed ball games too, working jobs I had to get through, always saying just one more year while the people I love grew older here. Mama's hair turned silver gray, Daddy walks a little slower these days. The kids I left waving at the gate now have children of their own to raise. Funny how life slips through your hands while you're busy making plans. You look up one day and suddenly see the years are farther back than they used to be. Success means less than it once did, when you've learned what time can steal. One more mile to home, one more mile and I'm not alone. One more turn down that county road back to the place that built my soul. Through every storm and every town, when the world kept wearing me down, there was always a reason to hold on, just one more mile to home. And the sunrise breaks the eastern sky, painting gold across the pines. And there it is beyond the bend, the old water tower standing again. The mailbox leans the way it always did. The barn still wears its weathered skin. And standing on the porch I see the faces that never gave up on me. No fortune waits behind that door, just something worth much more. One more mile to home was all it took to remind my soul that love ain't measured by what you own, but by the people who call you their own. Through every road I've ever known, every place I've ever gone, nothing feels quite as strong as that last mile leading home. The engine stops, the screen door swings open, and for the first time in a long while, the journey is over. There's a little white church on Maple Hill, standing where the wind stands still, paint chipped by 100 years, holding prayers and holding tears. Every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, that old bell rings across the farms, calling people from miles around to gather on that sacred ground. As a boy, I'd sit beside my dad, swinging my feet and trying not to laugh, while Mama sang from the second row the same hymns everybody knew. Back then life felt safe and slow, like the bell would ring forevermore. Funny how the places we grow up in stay with us long after we leave. The church bell on Maple Hill still echoes through my memory, still through every season, every year. His voice remains so loud and clear. When life gets hard and roads get long, it reminds me where I belong, like an old friend calling through the wind. The church bell on Maple Hill. At 18 I left that town behind, chasing bigger dreams and brighter signs. New cities, new jobs, new faces too, trying to prove what I could do. Years rolled by like freight trains pass, fast enough to make you ask, where did all those good days go, and why did I leave home so long ago? Then one October afternoon, a phone call changed the room. Mama had passed peacefully, and the funeral would be next week. So I drove back down those county roads, past fields of corn and weathered homes. Some journeys bring you somewhere new, others bring you back to yourself. The church bell on Maple Hill still echoes through my memory, still through every season, every year. Its voice remains so loud and clear. When life gets hard and roads get long, it reminds me where I belong, like an old friend calling through the wind. The church bell on Maple Hill. The bell rang softly that Saturday as friends and family gathered to pray. I looked around and suddenly saw the life Mama spent giving to us all. Neighbors she helped through difficult years, people she comforted through tears, stories I'd never heard before, telling me who she really was. And as the bell echoed through the sky, something inside me finally understood. A good life isn't measured in wealth, but in the love you leave behind. The church bell on Maple Hill still guides my restless heart somehow, still through every mistake and every mile, it carries echoes of her smile. Though time moves on and seasons change, some truths remain the same, and every time that old bell rings, it brings me home again. The little white church still stands today, the bell still sings across the valley, and somewhere in that familiar sound, Mama's memory lives on.
Well, the work week's over, and the neon signs are coming alive.
5 long days at the factory line, punching clocks and working overtime, hands covered in grease, boots worn thin, just trying to keep a few dollars coming in. The whistle blew at 5:30, and suddenly everybody felt alive. Pickup trucks rolled down Main Street, heading where the jukebox meets the beat. The old bar sign buzzed red and blue, just like it always used to do. Folks poured in from miles around, looking for a little relief from this town. For one night, nobody's counting bills, nobody's worried about the world standing still. It's a honky-tonk Saturday night, neon glowing bright, country songs and whiskey shots, dancing till we lose track of time. Boots on wood and hearts set free, laughing loud with old friends and memories. Tomorrow's troubles can wait outside. It's a honky-tonk Saturday night. The band kicked off an old shuffle tune. The crowd started moving around the room. Couples spinning across the floor like they hadn't danced in years before. A waitress carried trays through the crowd, calling orders over the music loud. Old-timers leaned against the bar, sharing stories about who they were. Near the jukebox, a lonely soul sat, watching life through the brim of a hat, till someone smiled and offered a hand, and suddenly there was a reason to dance again. Funny how a simple song can heal the kind of wounds nobody else can feel. It's a honky-tonk Saturday night, neon glowing bright, country songs and whiskey shots, dance until we lose track of time. Boots on wood and hearts set free, laughing loud with old friends and memories. Tomorrow's troubles can wait outside. It's a honky-tonk Saturday night. By midnight, the room was alive with broken hearts and hopeful eyes. Some came looking for love, some just needed company. The farmer, the mechanic, the waitress too, all carrying burdens nobody knew. But beneath those lights for a little while, everybody found a reason to smile. Because life gets heavy out on the road, and nobody was meant to carry it alone. It's a honky-tonk Saturday night, where strangers become friends for a while, where old songs bring memories back and lonely hearts find a place to belong. The music fades as the morning arrives, but the feeling stays alive inside till next weekend comes around again for another honky-tonk Saturday night. The bartender flips the neon sign off. Chairs go up, the room grows quiet. And somewhere down a dark county road, someone's already looking forward to next Saturday night. There's a silver buckle in an old dresser drawer, scratched and worn like it's been through war. Won it at the county rodeo back in the summer of '64. I was young and wild, chasing every dream, certain the whole world belonged to me. Riding hard beneath the Texas sun, believing I'd never come undone. The grandstands filled on Saturday nights, dust clouds rising beneath the lights, friends cheering loud from the fence line rails, back when we thought we'd never fail. Funny how a piece of metal can hold more stories than its weight in gold. Silver buckle memories still shine brighter than they should to me. Old rodeo nights and reckless days, away. Some faces faded, some moved on, some are only photographs now, but every scratch tells a story I know in those silver buckle memories. There was a girl with a red cotton dress who could make a crowded room stand still. She'd wait beside the livestock gate every time she knew I'd ride. We'd dance beneath the fairground lights till the band packed up for the night, talking about a little place someday far beyond the rodeo days. Then came jobs and bills and years. Dreams got traded for responsibilities. I stayed home to help my dad. She followed opportunities out west. Neither one of us was wrong, but life had written a different song. Sometimes love doesn't end in heartbreak. It simply follows another road. Silver buckle memories still shine brighter than they should to me. Old rodeo nights and reckless days, laughing while life slipped away. Some faces faded, some moved on, some are only photographs now, but every scratch tells a story I know in those silver buckle memories. Last fall my grandson found that buckle hidden beneath old hunting gear. He held it up and asked me why. I smiled the way I did. So I sat him down and told him stories about friendship, love, and dusty arenas, about chasing dreams with everything you had, even when they didn't all come true. Because success ain't always winning trophies. Sometimes it's having stories worth remembering. Silver buckle memories, a lifetime shining back at me. The victories, the mistakes, the roads that helped shape the man I've grown. Time keeps moving, seasons change, but some moments never really fade. They live forever in the heart and soul, like silver buckle memories. The buckle still rests inside that drawer, a little duller than before. But every time I hold it in my hands, the crowd still cheers, the band still plays, and the dust still rises beneath the light.